migrants who attempted to cross the Red Sea. The BBC's Stephanie Hegarty reports.
500,000 people tried to cross the Red Sea to get from East Africa to the Gulf last year, an increase of almost 20% in the year before, according to estimates by the International Organization for Migration. That's despite efforts by authorities in the region to control this route. Now, as smugglers try to avoid new checkpoints in Ethiopia, Djibouti and Somalia, it seems the journey has become more dangerous, with the recorded number of people who died at sea or during long desert crossings almost doubling to 922. Tens of thousands of those attempting to cross are getting stuck in Yemen, where the IOM says many women are being detained and abused in smuggling dens.
Zimbabwe says more than 15 of its citizens have been killed while fighting in the Russian war on Ukraine. The government says more than 60 Zimbabwean nationals are still trapped on the front lines. The BBC's Shingai Nyoka reports.
The Zimbabwe government admitting for the first time that dozens of its nationals are in military service to Russia. It believes they were deceived by trafficking networks into enlisting. 15 Zimbabweans are confirmed dead. Over 60 others are still trapped on the front lines, authorities said. Harare is in talks with Moscow to repatriate the remains of those who have died and to ensure the safe return of the others. A spokesman said the government is also working to dismantle the trafficking networks responsible for the recruitments.
An advocate for stronger immigration enforcement and protection of opportunities for South Africa, the March and March movement has called for the declaration of a state of emergency in areas with high numbers of foreign nationals in South Africa to facilitate law enforcement, including the enforcement of immigration laws. The areas include Durban's Point, as well as Sunnyside in Pretoria and Hillbrow in Johannesburg. Thousands of people took part in a protest march through the Durban CBD in the KwaZulu-Natal province to mark the movement's first anniversary. The movement focuses on undocumented foreign nationals who, according to them, place a burden on public services and exacerbate crime. The march was supported by over 5 political parties in the country. The testimony of South Africa's suspended South Gauteng Province Director of Public Prosecutions Advocate Andrew Chauke at the Nkabinde inquiry has been delayed until later this afternoon. The adjournment is to allow the panel and the evidence leading team time to study Chauke's statement. The inquiry was established by President Cyril Ramaphosa to probe Chauke's fitness to hold office. He is accused of instituting racketeering charges against former KwaZulu-Natal Province's Priority Crime Investigation Hawks head Johan Boysens and the Cato Manor Organised Crime Unit. He also faces accusations relating to his decision to discontinue murder charges against former police intelligence head Richard Mdluli. Here's inquiry chairperson, retired Justice Bess Nkabende.
This team should have been working throughout the 7 days when we were not sitting. It is not clear to me why this affidavit is only ready, was not supposed to be ready yesterday, only yesterday, instead of at least last week. I'm speaking to your team, not only you, Council. You should have done better, Ndadam Kabela, including you and the attorneys and all council sitting, even new council sitting behind Advocate Toby.
For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulo Mwepe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
In our sports headline, the road to 2027 Africa Cup of Nations begins today. And London Marathon could be staged across 2 days. I'll be back with these and other stories at the bottom of the hour.
This is Africa Update, your pulse to the continent. Stories shaping nations and voices driving change. Stay informed, stay connected, right here on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
Well, coming up in this hour, Kenyan authorities are conducting an investigation in Kericho after discovering a mass grave containing more than 30 bodies, many of them children. And tensions are rising in Zimbabwe following the arrest of 15 nurses at Marondera Hospital during a picket action. Stay connected to Africa and the world with Channel Africa, the international voice of the South African Broadcasting Corporation. Watch or listen anytime, anywhere at channelafrica.co.za, on the Channel Africa mobile app and on SABC Plus, or via the DSTV and OpenView audio bouquets. You can also catch us on social media at Channel Africa on Facebook and at Channel Africa 1 on all other platforms. Channel Africa, first with the African story globally.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
On today's Africa Update asks, 15 nurses were arrested during a picket action at the Marandera Hospital with growing calls for their immediate release. What do you make of this? You can share your thoughts on Channel Africa's social media platforms at Channel Africa 1 on X and Instagram, at Channel Africa on Facebook, or you can send us your comments and voice notes to our WhatsApp number +27 83288684.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Well, Kenyan authorities are conducting an investigation in Kericho after discovering a mass grave containing more than 30 bodies, many of them children. A cemetery caretaker is in custody and another suspect has been detained. For more on the story, we're joined on the line by our correspondent in Kenya, Alex Kari. Hi, Alex. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Very well. So what can you tell us about the latest discovery?
I think this is something that has actually caught everyone by surprise because it was initially reported that the mass grave had around 14 bodies, but after the state went to the courts and obtained a court order to allow them to exhume the bodies, it was discovered that it contained up to 33 bodies with almost body parts that could actually put the number higher, and almost 7 fetuses. And when this was investigated, it was discovered that the bodies were from a different district's county hospital, which had tried to dispose of the bodies that had been unclaimed for quite a while. But the interesting aspect of it is that some human rights organizations are claiming that the bodies showed marks or rather symbols of torture. And then there is also the unidentified number of other people, because still it is not yet known how many body parts have been linked to the number of people who could have been killed or lay unclaimed in the morgue for quite a while. According to the Kenyan Constitution and the law as it is, every county government must have a cemetery. So how these bodies from a neighboring county ended up in another county's cemetery, which is actually run by the church, is what is now raising more questions, because they could have been, they should have followed some procedures, and as per the constitution, for the bodies to be disposed of which are unclaimed, there should be a court process, and which should be followed by a 14-day notice to allow the disposal of the bodies, and this wasn't followed clearly.
Now, 2 grave diggers have reportedly said that a white Land Cruiser brought the bodies to the site on the night of March 20th, and that they were buried immediately. What else have they said? Have they said anything else?
They have not said anything more beyond that, but it is now being alleged that the 2 Land Cruisers belonged to the neighboring county government. It's called Nyamira County, whose officials had arrived there to seek consent from the Kericho County government's cemetery attendant. But his biggest problem is that he allowed these bodies to be buried without the consent of the church, which runs the cemetery, and also the county government. So these are the issues that are now coming up, but they have not revealed more, because this can only be he can only be allowed to make these revelations in a court of law after the forensics have been done and the DNA established the identities of the people who are buried there without, and also trying to know whether the families were informed, so that they can be able to allow, because usually when a body lies in the mortuary for quite a while, it is supposed, the mortuary or rather the hospital in question is supposed to seek the consent of the courts, issue a 14-day notice, and then try to identify the bodies. However, the other thing that is now troubling everybody is that the body parts, whose other bodies have not been, other parts have not been linked, because when a body is brought to a mortuary, it is supposed to be identified beforehand if it is full or not. So that manifest is not yet clear, telling us whose bodies they belong to, like the 4 arms, the 4 limbs, and the four hands, and also the skulls, the 2 skulls that were found as part of the buried bodies. So it is a very complicated situation that needs time to be able to unravel, so that we can know who the bodies belonged to, who brought them to the initial hospital, that's Nyamira County Government Hospital, Referral Hospital, and how they ended up in this other neighboring county, which is now Kericho County government's hands, so that we can now be able to tell who did what and how did they do it, and which laws were not followed.
So the cemetery caretaker and the other suspect that's been detained, when should they be appearing in court?
They have already appeared in court, but they were just there for the mention of the case. But once the forensics are done and everything else is done, now the hearing is what is now going to reveal more. Remember that we still have an unresolved case over in the coastal Kenya, where over 400 bodies were found in mass graves in Shakahola, but still the government seems to be struggling to know how it ended up there, because that was linked to a cult. But this is a case of medical negligence that could be preferred against the officials from the government that these bodies came from, and the government that now received them, because clearly the cemetery attendant did not follow the right procedures.
And finally, as we let you go, post-mortem examinations have begun. Have any of the results been released as yet?
No, we're expecting updates this afternoon from the pathologist, and this would now tell us if the people whose bodies were found in the grave were either tortured or not, and then if they belonged to the age differences and also the fetuses, so that we can know how they ended up there, because clearly, if it could also be linked to a case of illegal abortion in that county, and also who could be behind it. It's going to be a wider net that is going to catch so many people involved, and those who could be, who should have been in the know and who should have taken the right steps.
Alex, thank you so much for that update. And that was our correspondent in Kenya, Alex Kairi.
Africa, voici Abedi.
Oui, c'est moi.
Abedi est un passionné de musique dans l'âme. Il a un goût pour toutes sortes de musique et passe ses journées à écouter Channel Africa.
J'aime beaucoup la musique africaine.
Ok. Devinez quoi? Channel Africa veut aider Abedi et les mélomanes du monde entier à découvrir encore plus de musique incroyable. C'est pourquoi Channel Africa appelle les artistes africains à soumettre leur musique. Chers artistes, n'oubliez pas de nous fournir toutes vos informations pertinentes à l'email adresse musique@channelafrica.co.za. Les soumissions sont votre chance d'être entendues, mais elles ne garantissent pas une playlist. Toutes les soumissions seront soigneusement examinées pour voir si elles répondent aux exigences de notre station. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Let's just do it.
Your life just got easier. Get the Channel Africa app and take us wherever you go. Catch the latest news, enjoy your favorite shows, stream the music you love, and stay connected to the continent. All in one spot, right in your pocket. Simple, quick, and always with you. The Channel Africa app. Download it now on iOS and Android. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Tensions are rising in Zimbabwe following the arrest of 50 nurses at Marondera Hospital during a picket action. There are now growing calls for their immediate release, with healthcare workers across the country threatening to stage an hour-long picket within the next 72 hours if their colleagues are not freed. The situation has also revived memories of 2018, when the government dismissed more than 10,000 nurses who were protesting for better wages. Now, to unpack these developments, we are joined on the line by democracy and political activist General Sithole. General Sithole, good afternoon, and how are you today?
Good afternoon, Tress. How are you?
Very well, very well. So what is your understanding of the circumstances surrounding the arrest of these 15 nurses? And do you believe their arrest was lawful, or does it violate their right to protest?
Thank you so much, Tracy. All we understand is that the arrest was not lawful because of the authenticity of the grievances which were being put forward by the nurses. Reason why we are saying it is unlawful, this is not the first time we have the nurses, especially the healthcare workers, bringing forward their grievances. We have got a trace of 2018, which actually resulted in people being dismissed from work. These are the new recruits, most of them. And if you can check from 2018 up until now, we are still having another cycle of demonstration grieving for the very same grievance. So we are actually not going to say there is unlawful in their protest. The arrest was unlawful because the grievance is authentic and it is known from long back. The fact that the government did not attend to it for the first time they started this, it shows that they are not willing.
So what does this incident say about the state of workers' rights, particularly in the health sector in Zimbabwe? And are healthcare workers being unfairly targeted for speaking out?
Exactly. That is 100%. Because if we do have the government which does not want to respond to the grievances, but rather respond by sending the police to go and arrest the people who are together discussing of their grievances, then it shows that their democratic space is closed. This is a clear indication that the government is ready to silence all the dissenting voices. And the nurses, they were not demonstrating. They were picketing inside their premises. And for your own information, Tracy, this is not one hospital. We were going to understand if it was one hospital, but we have got over 7 different hospitals in different provinces, which shows that we've got a crisis in the health sector. Amongst the crises, we can see the spirit of patriotism in them, because it is clear and indicated on the public domain that the working conditions of these health workers are not conducive. They are not working with the proper PPE. They don't have medicine. They still have to liaise with the relatives to actually go and get some of the stuff which were supposed to be seen in the hospital from the private pharmacies. But in all these conditions, we still have the nurses who are coming to work. Now they come forward to cry that, please, giving us $250 is not enough, especially looking forward on the hike of the petrol. Obviously, the transportation money from work to home to work is no longer adequate. Then having a government coming down to arrest the people, then it doesn't mean anything.
So there's threats of nationwide pickets. How serious is the risk of escalation? And what impact could this have on an already strained healthcare system?
Picketing is going to go on, and it is very serious. Because as long as the grievances which is triggering this picketing is not attended to, just as I was addressing last time, to say they need to go and engage them, see how they can meet these people halfway, to resolve their grievance. As long as the government is going to use the security force to silence the people who are bringing forward the authentic problems which they are having, then we have to expect a lot. And this is going to give a direct disadvantage, mostly to the patients who are looking forward to have the attendance, because already the government has shown that it has got nothing to do with the patients. The reason why, when I was speaking with these nurses, the reason why they were doing the 30 minutes picketing during their working hours, it is because they wanted to go back and attend the people. So now it's going to be another issue, because we are having a government with regards to send the police to go and take people from the premises of their work, go and put them in the jail. Then which shows they don't care about the patients, because these people were on duty and they were planning to do a timely picketing to send forward a message, then go back to work. This is very serious, and we really need to actually call for the government of Zimbabwe to reconsider their action before they do anything.
And just on a final note, so Zimbabwe has also reported that 15 of its citizens have been killed fighting for Russia in Ukraine. What do you know about this?
It is true. We have got a massive unemployment rate, which is actually hitting especially the young generation. We have got a young boy, I think he was 21, who is reported amongst those who lost their lives. Why? The people are now taking option to go and join the forces in Russia as a form of employment, because there is nothing to offer to the young generation, which is actually contributing to the brain drain which is taking place in the country. Massive externalization of citizens because of poverty, So this calls back to the government of Zimbabwe that instead of using the security force to win arguments, they need now to start and resort back to the point where they come and consider that in each and every problems which are there and the arguments, they need to win back the people so that we can start building our nation going forward. This is a crisis which is in the country.
General Sithole, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you.
That was democracy and political activist General Sithole.
Ritmos e cultura com Jacob Tivani.
Hoje vamos celebrar um momento muito especial na música, em particular o universo do jazz moçambicano.
Ladies and gentlemen, senhoras e senhores,
temos o privilégio de receber um dos maiores nomes do jazz de África, moçambicano e, por que não, o mundo lusófono, Moreira Xunguissa, para falarmos sobre o lançamento da edição especial em vinil do seu icônico álbum
The Journey, The Moreira Project, Volume 1.
A música é que me escolheu e não foi eu que escolhi a música. O saxofone é que me escolheu, não fui eu que escolhi o saxofone. Eu sinto-me honrado, sinto-me de alguma maneira satisfeito e, mais importante, sinto-me feliz porque usamos o álbum The Journey como um influenciador, catalisador e eu sinto-me honrado.
Ritmos e cultura com Jacob Tivani, todos os domingos das 20 às 21 horas.
Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update. Only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
The recent coronation of a Nigerian king in South Africa's Eastern Cape province has sparked intense controversy and anger among South Africans, with local officials and traditional leaders condemning it as a violation of sovereignty. A ceremony was reportedly held in Kugompo City, formerly East London, where a Nigerian national, Chief Solomon Ogbone Eziko, was allegedly installed as Igwe Ndigbo na East London, a move that has prompted royal backlash from the Abatembu Royal Council and other traditional leaders, describing the act as an act of terror, and denied any official recognition of the title, stating it undermines local traditional authority. So to give us clarity on this matter, on the side of the Nigerian king's installation, we're joined on the line by the president of the Nigerian Union South Africa, NUSA attorney Nwabi Smart. Mr. Smart, good afternoon. How are you?
Afternoon. Thank you for having me on your platform. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to begin. Can you provide clarity on the installation of Chief Solomon as Igwe, and what does this title represent within the Nigerian diaspora context, and what authority or cultural mandate underpins it?
Thank you. First of all, I think there has been a different narrative, misconceptions surrounding the alleged installation of a king, popularly known as Igwe. It is within the mandate of the Nigerian Union South Africa. Nigerian Union South Africa is an apex Nigerian organization representing all Nigerian nationals residing within the borders of the Republic of South Africa. The Igbos are one of the extractions of Nigerians residing in South Africa, being an extraction of Nigerians. What has transpired recently, some call it an invasion, an installation of a king, and an invasion of Abatembu Kingdom within the East London territory. It is within the mandate of the Nigerian Union that I lead in order to dispel and bring clarity to this issue. One thing I can say here is that there was no installation of a king, and there's no an invasion. What we should understand is, what does this coronation stand for? The Nigerian people, especially the Igbo extractions within the diaspora community, seeks to have a leadership amongst themselves. Just as you create maybe a kind of organization and you call the leader your president. This Mr. Solomon that was crowned the Igwe, the language Igwe means different things for different contextual applications. Over the years, the Igbos in South Africa, this is not going to be the first of its kind, and they do not intend to compete or replicate the existing traditional structures or authority within those territories that they reside. But what they seek to do is to be able to be a go between the host community, the government. For instance, if there is an uprising, or maybe there's a Nigerian person that is said to be wanting or have been out of order, usually this leader holds a duty to correct this group of people, to say, you do not live this way in a host community. You do not behave in this manner. So I think that is where the misconception is. I think we should unpack the actual meaning of Igwe from what is seen on Nollywood
Mr. Smart,
elsewhere. Yes,
because of time,
yes.
We're going to have to wrap this up now, but I just wanted to find out, were there any formal consultations or engagements with South Africa's traditional leaders, such as the Abatembu? And was the Nigerian High Commission or the embassy in South Africa informed or involved in this?
Ma'am, this is just an organization that is registered, and if their intention is to have a territorial powers or to compete in any way or to be recognized by the government itself or maybe the Abatembu, then a formal consultation will be done. But if the intention, the issue is that what are the intentions? The intention is to create a parallel system of cultural recognition, and that is capital no. That is not the intention. I think that is where the misconceptions are being found.
Okay. Mr. Smart, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. And lastly from me,
yes.
Mr. Solomon is just a diaspora ambassador, a cultural diaspora ambassador, and nothing more and nothing less. He does not seek, to have any form of traditional recognition within the South African structure, including Contra Lexa. They know what to do. If that is their intention, they will write to the proper quarters. So we have engaged, we've started engaging the ATM through our writings. We've made a press release on this matter to say it is far from it. It is a misconception, and there's no any time or manner or intention of this group to undermine the traditional institution of South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smart. That was President of the Nigerian Union South Africa, Sir Attorney Nwabi Smart. Time now for our news headlines.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Tracy. Good afternoon. Making headlines, the United Nations Refugee Chief Baram Salhi has urged donors globally to urgently boost funding to help manage the humanitarian fallout from the widening war in the Middle East. South Africa's Democratic Alliance Party says the law must take its course following reports that National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola has been issued with summons in connection with the controversial Medicare 24 contract with Millions. And finally, Zimbabwe says more than 15 of its citizens have been killed while fighting in the Russian war on Ukraine. I will have details on these and other stories at 1 o'clock.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Let's kick off with football news. The road to a place at the CAF Africa Cup of Nations Pamuja 2027 begins today with the preliminary round qualifiers as 12 teams vie for the 6 available places in the next round. Eritrea and Eswatini renew acquaintances in Magnus. Lesotho and Seychelles will clash at the Free State Stadium in South Africa's Free State Province before facing off again at the same venue 3 days later. Djibouti and South Sudan are also set for a fascinating duel with both legs scheduled to take place at Juba Stadium. On the 27th of March, Somalia face Mauritius in the first leg at Lagli Arena in Matola before Mauritius hosts the return encounter at the National Sports Complex in St. Pierre on the 31st of March. Chad and Burundi will also begin their battle at Stade Olympique in N'Djamena. The return leg in Bujumbura 4 days later is expected to be equally competitive. Sao Tome and Principe take on Ethiopia and El Jadida before the second leg shifts to Deir Dawa on the 31st of March. Now on to cricket news. South Africa's Proteas stand-in T20 captain Keshav Maharaj has given props to debutant Conor Esterhuizen after he bagged the man of the series gong in their series win over New Zealand. South Africa fought back from 2-1 down to win the series 3-2, with Esterhuizen notching his maiden half-century in the final 2 matches, including the series decider after an impressive unbeaten 45 in low-scoring opening victory. Maharaj, meanwhile, also applauded his young Chargers' character in fighting their way back to win the series after back-to-back defeats.
Yeah, it's super special. I think, firstly, to come back in the series from 2-1 down against a strong New Zealand side with a young side from the Proteas is super special. I think it speaks to the character within the sides and the depth in the systems that we have. And the attitudes towards everything. I think there was a real hunger and desire and sort of energy around the field, having gone 2-1 down in the way that we did. To bounce back the way we did is absolutely phenomenal.
Maharaj first played alongside the 24-year-old at the Pretoria Capitals in the recent SA20, has taken him under his wing and revealed a lost bet that has cost him a bet.
We heard about this kid last season and putting in the numbers that he has. I was fortunate enough to spend a whole SA20 with him just to see how he goes about his business. He's a real hard worker. He's someone that's under my wing. He's a good kid. I don't think many can hit cricket shots like that in the middle the way he does. He's a sweet timer off the ball. But just how clear he is and how hungry he is to want to do well. I actually lost the bet. He won the bet. I told him if he gets 75, I'll give him a bat. So, yeah, but I think the way he's bounced back and read conditions and led the batting lineup.
Let's end with marathon. London Marathon organizers are considering staging the 2027 edition across 2 days to meet unprecedented demand. A record 1.1 million people applied in the public ballot for the 2026 race, a 36% increase on last year. Event organizers say they are exploring innovative ways to allow more runners to take part while ensuring positive benefit for the city. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Ngwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. This March, escape to the Friendship Village for a premium festival experience like no other. The Montreux Jazz Festival experience brings together more than 30 exceptional local and international acts, including Robert Glasper with Bilal, Stacey Kent, Salif Keita, Thandiswa Mazwai, and Mandisa Jantjies. From the 27th to the 29th of March 2026, indulge in world-class music, culture, and luxury. Book your ticket now at ticketmaster.co.za or visit mjfsa.com. The Montreux Jazz Festival French Hook, where timeless music meets timeless beauty. Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Good afternoon. I am Nosipho Zuma. In your business news this hour, Uganda's finance ministry says the country's merchandise export earnings surged 77.6% in January from a year earlier, driven by soaring revenues from shipments of gold, coffee and other goods. Uganda earned $1.5 billion from goods shipped in January, up from $844.6 million in the same month a year earlier. Now, the ministry says Uganda is Africa's largest exporter of coffee and has been reaping increasing revenues in recent years from high global prices of the commodity and surging exports volumes. The East African country has also in recent years emerged as a major regional gold processing and trading center. Nigeria's central bank has removed a requirement that forced international oil companies to temporarily retain part of their export earnings. This will allow oil companies to repatriate all proceeds in a move aimed at improving liquidity and confidence in the foreign exchange market. In a circular dated March 25, the central bank said it has scrapped earlier cash pooling requirements that allowed authorized dealer banks to transfer only half of oil exports proceeds immediately, with the balance held for up to 90 days. Now, under the new directive, oil companies may repatriate all export earnings through authorized banks, subject to documentation and monthly reporting with immediate effect. South Africa's Democratic Alliance Party's Johannesburg mayoral candidate Helen Zille has gone to court to urgently interdict an over $591 million wage deal between the City of Johannesburg and Municipal Workers Union, SAMU. Zille says the agreement was pushed by the African National Congress and its partners in Council for political reasons. She claims the deal will put the city's finances at risk and take money away from basic services like water, electricity, and waste collection.
The ANC needs SAMU to be its foot soldiers for this election. That is the reason that the ANC and its partners like the PA, like Al Jamar, and like the EFF are using your money and taking it away from basic service delivery and the capital budget to fix water and electricity. They're taking that money away to pay for political favors. That's why it's called the politically facilitated agreement.
Meanwhile, South Africa's Democratic Alliance Party has called for an urgent 50% cut to fuel levies, warning of severe financial pressure on households as fuel prices surge. This comes as petrol prices expected to rise by almost 30 US cents per litre and diesel by over 53 cents next month. The party is proposing that both the Road Accident Fund and general fuel levies be halved for the duration of current oil price shock, with the country facing its highest ever once-off hike to fuel prices owing to the US-Israel war on Iran. The party believes its proposal to plug the gap is reasonable. The party warns rising fuel costs will increase transport fares, food prices and inflation, hitting low-income earners hardest. DA spokesperson on finance and Member of Parliament, Dr. Mark Burke.
The fact is, as you've now said, the price is going up by more than R5 per litre for petrol and R9 for diesel. And if we're able to do what we've proposed yesterday, we will be able to give a more than R3 discount on each type of fuel to South Africans. The cost of this will, of course, be massive to the fiscus, and not only have we proposed that we cut the two levies by 50% each for this more than R3 discount on the increases, but we've also proposed a funded plan on how the 6.5 billion rand that would have flowed to the fiscus because of these two levies can be substituted.
And finally, French Finance Minister Roland Lescure says France will announce targeted measures in the coming days to address energy price spikes driven by the Iran war. Lescure says the government is preparing support for sectors hit hard by the rising costs, including trucking companies and fisheries that are struggling to pay their energy bills. He says he has called a meeting with G7 finance minister, energy ministers and central bankers for Monday to discuss the situation, and that new measures will be announced in the next few days. Your financial indicators: one US dollar in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 Naira 379, and Botswana is 13 Bula 51. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shillings 67, and in Zambia it's 18 Kwacha 76. The BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 Riyal 23. Russia is 80 rubles 75. India is 93 rupees 86. China is 6 yuan 89, and in South Africa $1 is trading at 16 Rand 91. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $4,430 and platinum at $1,884 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $106.07 a barrel. Now, for any business news stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nosipho Zuma.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa at Play with Neto and ETO Chemane.
Lelinhle, talk to us about your relationship with your father, Coach Pitso. What is this one thing that he said to you that is still stuck at the top of your head?
Coach Pitso and our mom, Moira Tlhagale, have always told us that whatever we do in life, we must do it to the best of our abilities and represent our family well. But the big thing is do what you love and do it with all the passion that you have. And I think we see it in both their work. I mean, my mom has done a really good job with placing Coach Pitso in different clubs around the world, and she's negotiated contracts and she's showing that as a woman you can also do work that is seen, and you can also get respect from men in a male-dominated space. And I think my dad has also shown that you must never underestimate the Black African man.
Lelinhle Mosimane, a South African communications and digital media professional. Lelinhle is also a daughter to a great mentor when it comes to the game of football, Coach Jingles Mosimane.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update. Only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa. The African perspective.
It is 15 minutes before 1 o'clock Central African time. I'm Tracy Bumgard standing in for Lulu Gabu. The inaugural Africa Matters Summit, held under the theme Financing Africa's Recovery, has wrapped up in Johannesburg, South Africa. Hosted by Channel Africa in partnership with Wits Business School, the one-day summit brought together entrepreneurs, policymakers, researchers and industry leaders to explore innovative financing solutions for Africa's economic recovery, particularly in the face of climate change. The discussions highlighted the urgent need for sustainable investment, homegrown solutions and stronger collaboration across sectors to ensure the continent not only recovers but thrives. We're now joined in studio by Prosper Ndumiso, who attended the summit, and to share his insights and experiences. Hi Prosper, how are you?
Hi Tracy, I'm all good, and how are you?
I'm awesome. So, you attended the summit?
Of course.
Right. What stood out for you most, and how important are platforms like this for entrepreneurs across the continent?
I think it's very rare to have all stakeholders in one room talking about the same problem, and not just from a South African perspective, but even an African perspective. So having all the African leaders gathered, having all the big players within the climate be there, and also financially, the stakeholders such as banks that were there. So you understand the full scope of the problem and how deep it is because of all the experts that are already involved in it. So as an entrepreneur constantly looking for an opportunity in one room, the summit brought everything together. And even from a civil perspective, whereas you get a bigger picture of climate change, its impact in our generation now from what it was then.
Now, do you think enough has been done to support entrepreneurs when it comes to access to funding?
Oh, that conversation will always be a tricky one. Given how our unemployment status is looking currently, just in South Africa alone, it is clear that enough is not done. It could be an avenue that generates it. Currently, there are some few things that are going well, like with the program that I was with the business school, Wits Crucible Entrepreneurship Program. And really, CETA has come in on board, other stakeholders to try and help. If there could be more, then there could be more young people who are coming up with businesses, hence maybe curb a bit on the unemployment rate that we currently see that is soaring so high. So is enough being done, or is there enough funding? There could be more.
So how is climate change affecting businesses and entrepreneurs on the ground? And what are some of the biggest challenges entrepreneurs in Africa currently face?
Every sector, I think it depends on the sector in this case. So there's certain sectors that are not really directly feeling its full wrath when it happens. But there's unfortunate incidents that occur from climate change. One was mentioned by Mr. Naidu, who is an activist for climate change. And he mentioned that the floods in Durban, businesses were affected. Even if you buy the corner as a vendor, even if you have a facility, somehow your day-to-day business. So indirectly, everyone will be affected, but directly, you could say the farming industry and a few industries that are affected directly. But in the long run, everybody will be feeling the wrath if nothing happens or nothing changes about how it's approached now.
Now, what lessons from the summit will you take back into your own work, and what message would you give to young entrepreneurs across the continent?
The opportunities are there, definitely. And as an entrepreneur, being in a space where you get to learn of the problem, you get to see it, people are passionate about it. And from that, well, our job is to generate money. But even from a civil place, I think entrepreneurs have a lot to contribute when it comes to civil society. Sure, we want to make money and everything, but one thing that was emphasized was working together to make everybody more aware of the implications, and more importantly, work together, not just the civil society, but even the private sectors, the government, into curbing this and making it a good place for not just us, but the future generations to come.
And I need to find out something, because when we were chatting yesterday...
Yes.
Okay. Well, there were a couple of things that we were chatting about. But your company you do mobile security. Can you please explain that? Because there's a couple of things, mobile as in cell phone,
Yes.
mobile as in,
Mobile is in cell phone. So in South Africa alone, we have a very interesting cell phone penetration in South Africa. Each individual on average has 2 phones that they own. In our phones, we do know in the modern world, you can do absolutely everything. You're banking, you can work and whatnot. So we seek to protect the mobile phone. There's 2 spaces we're looking at as we're looking to release a basic mode. That's your everyday. You are too excited, you have your phone in your hand, and for some reason you forget your phone down there. That's where we come in with the cross clip. So it's
no, here you don't forget your phone anywhere. Your phone gets removed from your hand.
Well, we're giving it a generous spin and sound to it. But let's say you forget it. There's also, for whatever reasons you forget, it will alert you when you and your phone are not together at a certain distance. So think of it like an invisible digital leash that keeps you at bay with what's happening. There's even a more exciting smart version which will work at events that will be able to tell us who is where and whatnot. So yeah, can't wait to get that out in the market.
Oh, that'll be so awesome. Prosper, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure, Tracy, and thank you to all your listeners.
That was Prosper Ndumiso, a young entrepreneur who attended the Africa Matters Summit.
Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us. Digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa One. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa One. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Well, it's that time of the hour where we joined in studio by Tebogo Lekululeni.
Wow, Tracy. After how many years?
Tebogo, that's all you're going to get from me. Okay.
Here's what's coming up on the upside this afternoon. I love hidden gems. When you're traveling and going to places that not a lot of people are familiar with, everyone wants to go to all the tourist hotspots and it gets crowded. But the hidden gems, every single country has hidden gems. In South Africa, we're going to head down to the Eastern Cape and uncover some of those hidden gems, because during this week from today until the 28th of March, the Mandela Bay Theatre Complex will be showcasing the hidden gems of PE's rich cultural diversity. So that's a conversation that I am most looking forward to. And as always, we've got What Caught Your Eye, where we'll be unpacking some of the trending stories that we've been seeing on social media lately. So that's all coming up on the upside.
Oh, that is going to be such an interesting topic. That you'll catch at the top of the hour in 6 more minutes.
Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update. Only on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
The UN General Assembly has adopted a draft resolution that unequivocally condemns the trafficking of enslaved Africans and the transatlantic slave trade as the most inhumane and enduring injustice against humanity. The resolution also seeks to recognize the profound and lasting impacts of the abhorrent regimes of slavery and colonialism, and emphasizes that claims for reparations represent a concrete step towards remedying historical wrongs against Africans and people of African descent. Sherwin Brass-Peace reports on how the vote unfolded and some of the objections raised.
123 countries in favor, 52 abstentions and 3 voting against: the USA, Israel and Argentina. The initiative was spearheaded by Ghana and the Africa Group that earlier explained the draft resolution was the result of a clear continental mandate taken at the highest levels of the African Union. Listen to Ghana's President John Mahama.
This current draft resolution is a result of months of consultation and consensus building by continental bodies, nations, experts, scholars, and jurists, with the sole aim of achieving a united front and grounding the final outcome in truth, compassion, and moral conscience, remembrance, education, and dialogue. So today we come together in solemn solidarity to affirm truth and pursue a route to healing and reparative justice. The adoption of this resolution serves as a safeguard against forgetting. It also challenges the enduring scars of slavery. And so delegates, on this beautiful day in March, were called to stand on the right side of history. Let it be recorded that when history beckoned, we did what was right.
The resolution unequivocally condemns the trafficking of enslaved Africans as the most inhumane and enduring injustice against humanity. It emphasizes that claims for reparations represent a concrete step towards remedying historical wrongs against African people. It calls on member states to engage in good faith dialogue on reparatory justice, including a full and formal apology, the prompt restitution of cultural properties, artifacts and archives, and requests the Secretary-General to produce a report on implementation during the GA's 82nd session, which begins in September next year. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres.
The wounds run deep and often go unrecognized. I've often said the transatlantic slave trade was a crime against humanity that struck at the core of personhood, broke up families, and devastated communities. To justify the unjustifiable, slavery's proponents and beneficiaries constructed a racist ideology, turning prejudice into a pseudoscience. This perverse global order thrived because power acted without conscience, and we must use our power for better ends. By reflecting the false narrative of racial hierarchy and calling out the ugly lie of white supremacy.
Several delegations, including the United States, could not support the text. U.S. Representative Ambassador Dan Negria.
While we acknowledge the horrors of the past, we do not accept this resolution's assertion that historical facts from the 15th through 19th century constitute violations of jus cogens, as the term is understood in contemporary international law. The United States also does not recognize a legal right to reparations for historical wrongs that were not illegal under international law at the time they occurred. In addition to its obvious legal problems, this resolution is also unclear as to who the recipients of reparatory justice would be.
Some countries also objected to what they viewed as an effort to rank crimes against humanity, pushing back at the notion that some atrocity crimes were less severe than others. Ghana's Foreign Minister Samuel Ablakwa rejected that view in the Assembly, arguing that the resolution established a principal framework for reconciliation grounded in truth and that it reflected the broadest possible views of member states. The non-binding text, while not adopted unanimously due to several legal and technical objections from European and other Western states, still passed on the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade, which is March 25th. I'm Sherwin Bryce-Pease in New York.
And that is how we come to the end of Africa Update for today. From myself, Tracy Bumgard, have yourself a good afternoon.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet.
Channel 802.
Well, a big thank you to Tracy. Join her again tomorrow, same time, same place. It's now time for The Upside, your gateway to the good life on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Dates and Israel launched strikes on Iran in February. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees says the appeal was for $69 million, but less than 10% of that has so far been received. South Africa's Democratic Alliance Party says the law must take its course following reports that National Police Commissioner General Fanny Masemola has been issued with summons in connection with the controversial Medicare 24 contract worth millions. The contract was awarded to alleged criminal kingpin Vusumuzi Matlala. This comes after the Investigative Directorate IDAG served Masemola with a notice to appear in court next month, intensifying scrutiny over the contract. The DA's national spokesperson Karabo Khachau says anyone implicated in criminal wrongdoing must face the full might of the law, urging authorities to act decisively and ensure justice for all South Africans.
So anybody that is suspected to be in breach of any code of criminal conduct within our country must serve before the full might of the law and receive the consequences. So the police and the justice system of this country must do everything in their power and leave no stone unturned in order to get justice for all South Africans.
Zimbabwe says more than 15 of its citizens have been killed while fighting in the Russian war on Ukraine. The government says more than 60 Zimbabwean nationals are still trapped in the front lines. The BBC's Shingai Nyoka reports.
The Zimbabwe government admitting for the first time that dozens of its nationals are in military service to Russia. It believes they were deceived by trafficking networks into enlisting. 15 Zimbabweans are confirmed dead. Over 60 others are still trapped on the front lines, authorities said. Harare is in talks with Moscow to repatriate the remains of those who have died and to ensure the safe return of the others. A spokesman said the government is also working to dismantle the trafficking networks responsible for the recruitments.
The testimony of suspended South Africa's South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions Advocate Andrew Chauke at the Nkabinde inquiry has been delayed until later this afternoon. The adjournment is to